Hello! In this tutorial I'll teach you how to show some recursive data coming from the database. So let's say that you have a database table called categories, which points to itself, which means that a category can belong to another parent category or can have multiple other children category. Or another example is that the menus. Let's say that you have a table menu which can have other items and that other items can have inside other menus inside. So how can you show in a page this type of structure in a recursive way? So this is the focus of this tutorial. So let's log in our framework, choose a workspace, a project, create a page, called dynamic recursive structure. And now that we have our page editor open, corresponding to the page that we just created, now we can continue. So the next step, it is to create a database table with that specific structure that we talked about before. So we go to our databases, we open our current database that we have related with our project, and we'll click here in this symbol, add table. And we'll create our category table. So we put the name of our table. We can, by default, the system creates all these fields that we can delete by all of them, with the exception of the first one, which is the primary key. We can rename it as category ID. Now attention that when you rename this as category ID, it will change the type. So we want to put it back as automatic primary key. Then we can add other types, which will be the parent ID, which basically will be a foreign key pointed to itself. So this will have the IDs of the items for the same table, but it's a foreign key for the table itself. And then we had the last attribute called name, which will contain the name of each category. Okay, so we can add a default value for the foreign key, which could be 0, and we can add our table. Okay, table was added successfully. Now we can come here and edit some records, some default records, so then we can show them in our page. So first thing to do is let's create some records here, which could be category A, which will belong to the root level, which is the 0, the parent ID 0. We can add another record, which could be the category B, the category C, and currently what we have is category A as the primary key 1, the B 2, and the C the category ID 3. So let's add now some subcategories, which could be category AA, which belongs to the category A, which is ID 1. We can add other subcategory AB to the same parent, and AC. Then we can add some for the category B, which is ID 2, BB, something like that, and the category C doesn't have any subcategories. Now let's add another subcategory for the category AB, which is ID 5. So AB, ABA, which is the ID 5. Okay, done. Okay. So currently we already have some default records here that we can manage and that we can show you. We can create a page based in these records. Okay, so let's just close these pop-ups and we can see that we have here the new table that we created. Okay, next step, it is to drag and drop the widgets into the content region, showing the specific structure that is inside of this database table. So let's go to the widgets. Let's drag the HTML block and let's go here to the load resource option and let's create a new resource based in that table that we just created, which was the category table. Let's put get multiple records, yep, and let's just apply it. Okay, so what the system is currently doing now is creating a new resource to get all the records for the category table, and it's done. Additionally, it opened the properties and it set already some properties automatically for us. So we can see that in the dynamic widget resource load resources, is set this categories resource by default here, which will load on page load when this handler gets executed. Now, this handler is not the correct handler that we want. So we want to show here a tree list. So we want to have a ULs list in here. So let's change first the type of this main div by scrolling down in here to the properties group and selecting list group. Automatically all the properties, they got refreshed and we got new properties, where in here in the load handler we can see that we have a new handler called load list table entry resource. This is the correct handler that we want. Okay, now and additionally this part it got disabled, so we need to put this on page load. Don't forget, it's very important. And now what we want to do is to drag some other widgets in here, so then we can show the specific the items inside of this resource. So let's drag some widgets, which will be the list. So we want to drag here a UL list in here, and additionally let's show the border so we can see the elements and what we are doing in here specifically. And now that we have a UL here, we want to set this UL with a specific type, which is the list tree UL, this type here, and we want to set the first LI as a row item type, like this type here. So the system knows that for each record, for each item that you get from the database table, it needs to replicate what is inside of this item here. And these ones we can simply delete them because we won't need them. Okay. Now inside of here we can just simply erase these strings, and inside of here what we want to show is we want to show the categories name. So first we need to drag and drop another widget in here, which could be a div inside of this LI, and in here what we want to show is to show the name of the category. So when we create the table, we create the attribute name. For the category name we gave this name, which was name. It is a little bit redundant, but it is name. So when we are if we want to show that specific value in here, we need to go to the display resource attributes, click show resource attribute, and in here we need to write the corresponding attribute name of the table, so which is the name. This one here needs to be exactly the same. Okay, so first part is done. So if we just save and if we preview the page, let's see what we currently have now. So what we have is, as you can see, we have all the categories listed here. So this is because the resource that we are loading here is getting all the categories. We are not filtering this resource here to only get the root category. So that's what we're going to do now. So to do that, we go to the load resources, inside of dynamic widgets, resource, load resources, we go to the categories resource, we expand the advanced properties, and below we have here some conditions that we can set, where in here we're gonna put the parent ID, the attribute name parent ID that is here. So we just type parent ID equal to 0 and we save. So basically what this will do is that it will only get the categories with the parent ID equal to 0, which are the root categories, and as you can see it only got these 3, which is correct. Okay, next step that we want to do is drag another widget in here inside to this list item, which is the row item, which is getting replicated for each individual item. We want basically to drag and drop a UL list through here. We can erase all of this, doesn't really matter, we don't need this. And inside of this UL, what we want to do, and this is the tricky part, we want to go to the properties of this UL, we want to go to the display resource attributes, and we want to select show resource attribute. Doesn't matter the attribute name, so we just put some value in here, doesn't really matter. We expand the advanced properties of these resource attributes, and this is the important part, which is in here in the handler, we want to select this handler, load and draw list data recursively. This handler, basically what we're going to do is we get the parent, this parent li, which is the row item that we selected, this row item, and it will, for each item inside, it will basically replicate this and we'll append it inside of these elements. So basically this is the first step. The second step is inside of here we want to load in the load resource items. We want to get the categories, we want to load the categories resource that we created before. But this time, so we don't want any load type, but we want, yes, we want to have the handler here needs to be the same that we had in here. So we need to set this UL as a list tree, and in here we want to search this as a load list, and we want this, the load list table length 3 resource, no load type, loading categories. And now in here in the conditions, this is the important part. In the conditions I want to have the parent ID again equal to the previous resource that we were loading correspondent with the primary key with the category ID. So the table has the category ID of this item, so I want to put this for, the category ID here for the current item that is being drawn. So in here it will have a UL in here, so I want to put the category ID of the category A. So how can I do that? So basically in here I can simply do this category ID inside of hashes, inside of hashtags. So if I save this and if I preview, I can see that now the system is getting each individual the root first, and then for each of the items it is making other queries to the database according with the correspondent IDs. So in this case he did one query to get the roots, he did another query to get these items, the second level, so it's 3 queries, and then he got a 4th query to get this other level into the database. So this is a way of doing this recursively. So this is a way of showing you how can you do that. This is a simple way to there are other ways, but this is a way to show you how can you do that based in multiple data from the database, getting the data directly from a table in the database. So this is just a simple example, and that's it. So thank you very much.